Okay, we started early today at 6, but the only thing we did is, pardon me, open the meeting and then go into an executive session to interview, because it's personnel reasons, our CFO, Chief Financial Officer, candidate. So when we started, we did read the Open Public Meeting Act, did the Pledge of Allegiance, and did our invocation, and then voted to go into executive session. So what we're going to do now is come out of executive session and go through with our meeting. Okay, so if you'd like an agenda, they're over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, as our associated resolutions and ordinances. Feel free to get up at any time and get that. So we are at number 5 at executive session, which we're coming out. So is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Okay, we're out of executive session. We're now at item number 6 on the agenda, commendations, proclamations. Now, just say quickly, if you came here to tell us anything, that's public discussion, that's going to come up in just a couple of minutes. So first, we've got our commendations and proclamations, and if I'll be joined at the podium by Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, everybody. It is my great pleasure to present 2 commendations this evening to 2 very dynamic and wonderful women that we are so lucky to have in the Township of Franklin. And I'm referring to Jean Doyle and Irene Calafiore. They head up a lot of projects in our senior programs that have really benefited this township with very little recognition for what it is that they do. And I'm very fortunate to be the council liaison to the Senior Advisory Committee, so I have an opportunity to see firsthand what these women are up to, and they are amazing, absolutely amazing. And this last project that just floored me was the backpack program for the children here in Franklin Township, where they have gone out and knocked on doors and gathered supplies and putting together backpacks specifically for the children of Franklin Township. So many of the programs that are out there for backpacks are for the county, and in some instances cross over county lines. And these women said, no, what we want is to do this for our children and our children only. And so they organized it. They are, among other things that they do that are just amazing. So I am very honored to be able to present them both with this commendation, which I'd like to read to everyone. And you'll get some sense of what they're involved in. Whereas Jean Doyle and Irene Calafiore of the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee have organized township seniors to collect backpacks and school supplies for Franklin Township residents from kindergarten through high school. And whereas Jean and Irene worked with key school personnel to develop a supply list and solicited store discounts for supplies, including on the list as well as contacting corporations, requesting supply donations, whereas their service to this community is part of the foundation of the Township of Franklin, and their endeavors demonstrate their commitment to improving the quality of life for the residents of the Township of Franklin. Now, therefore, we, Rosalind Sherman, Deputy Mayor, and Brian D. Levine, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, express our sincere appreciation and commend Jean Doyle and Irene Calafiore for their dedicated service to the welfare of our children and our community. So with deep respect, I would ask them to please come up and accept their commendations. This is for you, Irene. And if you might want to say a few words.
Just like to say thank you very much for the recognition. We really appreciate it. And the council usually, they see Jean and I coming sometimes, and they say, oh no, here they come again, now what? But we're not asking for anything. We're doing our backpack program, and we're giving this year over 125 filled backpacks, plus a couple of the schools only wanted supplies, so we're also giving boxes of supplies, so we've done very well. So we appreciate, and we volunteer, so if anybody requests people to volunteer, Jean and I do it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mayor Levine, Councilwoman Sherman, and our council members, we really thank you. This was very unexpected, very much appreciated. As Irene said, we've been all over to stores and houses and any place we beg, borrow, and almost steal to have people donate to this. This is a labor of love. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, but in the end, when you find out that you're doing something good for some little kid, makes you feel good. Thank you very much.
I would like to just recognize one other person from the senior organization. As soon as the mayor's finished kissing the ladies. I would like to recognize Shonda Sanchez, who works in the senior organization, who has been a strong supporter of these women and has done an enormous job. Shonda, thank you so very much for what you all do for helping. So very, very happy we're lucky to have you. We really are. Thank you. We have one more commendation for Joshua McGriff. And the commendation reads, whereas Joshua McGriff, a 2013 graduate of Franklin High School, is traveling abroad this summer, heading to Sofia, Bulgaria to compete in the 22nd Summer Deaf Olympics. And whereas Joshua, at 17, is the youngest of 12 players who represent the United States in the 2013 Summer Deaf Olympics, the only high school level basketball player on the team. And whereas Joshua attained recognition as a member of the school team of the 2013 Skyland Conference, promoting Darren Plummer, Franklin High School head coach, to portray Joshua as a tremendous young man and a great leader, an example for the players who are still at Franklin. And whereas Joshua's 2012-2013 record with the Franklin High School basketball team is a testament to his ability and drive. And he led the squad in rebounds, blocks, total points, and average points per game. And whereas Joshua's parents and siblings, brothers Jared and Justin, with their customary support, are encouraging him to go for the gold and enjoy the exceptional experience that participating in this Summer Deaflympics will impart. Now, therefore, I, Brian D. Levine, on behalf of the Township Council and the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, and all the residents, do hereby commend and congratulate Joshua McGriff and his achievements on the basketball court, the courage and fortitude he has shown in handling hearing impairment, and the character he has exhibited as an example to all. Joshua, if you would please come up. What a marvelous, marvelous accomplishment. Obviously, you're not Joshua. Oh, you are very welcome. Would you like to?
Thank you so much for this honor. Unfortunately, Joshua couldn't be here because he's at Gallaudet University. He started college. So thank you. My husband is recording, so we will share this with Joshua when we see him next week. It was an amazing experience in Sofia. I can tell you that Joshua had an incredible time. The men's basketball team brought home the bronze medal, but that was amazing. So we're really proud of them, and Joshua and I were walking along the streets of Sofia at one point, and he just said to me, "Mom, I could not imagine spending my summer in any better way than here, having a great experience." So it was an unbelievable time. He brought home a medal and quite a cultural experience. So it was a great time for him. So again, thank you for this honor, and we will share it with Josh.
The bus that took the whole team, I think it was one of their last stops, was right here in town by the municipal complex to get him and then go on to the airport. So from all of us, congratulations, and we want to hear his future accomplishments. And congratulations, as always, to Mom and Dad for all the work, and siblings, for your help out. Thanks. We are at number 7 on the agenda. And again, if you want an agenda, they're over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy, along with associated resolutions and ordinances. Feel free to come pick them up. And generally, our meetings are the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Feel free to come at any point. This week, it's the second Thursday, because Tuesday was a special primary election, so we're having it Thursday. And in August and December, there's only meetings on the second Tuesday. So our next meeting will be in September, no further meetings in August. If you want to speak of anything of a general nature, that's going to come up in a moment at public discussion. After that, there's going to be a couple items on which you can speak of on specific ordinances. I'll let you know, but if it's of a general nature, again, that's going to be in a couple minutes at public discussion. So today, for me, one slight switch in my usual modus operandi. Instead of a mug of the meeting, after all these years, I've brought my own gavel. So, and it says on it, attitude adjuster. So, hopefully, I'll adjust my attitude a little bit to fit in with whatever decorum I should have. So I'll test it out. Okay, good, that works. All right, so that's what, instead of a mug, I'll drink out of this thing or whatever I do today. So I was in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago to speak at this organization, Building One America, and I was invited speaker there, kind of lobbying for extra funds for housing and extra funds for education and fairness in housing, and especially those of us who come from kind of older suburbs, because sometimes we slip through the cracks a little bit. So part of the message was don't forget about us. certainly don't take anything away from anyone else, but don't forget about we, especially diverse communities like Franklin, where we've got all kinds of demographics, socioeconomic, ethnicities, rural, urban, suburban. So we're that mix, and sometimes when you just look at the numbers and statistics of a town, it doesn't give the whole picture. So that's one thing I was arguing there. And often you'll see things like that on my Mayor Brian Levine Facebook page, in addition often to a lot of weddings, which I do, so sometimes I'll have information there. And one thing today, which came out, you may, pardon me, read about it in your newspaper tomorrow, and I'll sandwich what I say with, sometimes we think it's a cliche for our men and women in blue to be in harm's way. The prosecutor put out a press release earlier that police responded to a burglary, and they attempted and did arrest a suspect in the area for this crime. And I guess I should use the word allegedly. The defendant allegedly removed an officer's weapon and discharged it twice. But fortunately, no one was hurt, and he's likely to be charged with attempted murder, so says the prosecutor. I guess that pans out. So again, when thankfully everyone okay, and when we do say men and women in blue in harm's way, and any stop or any call at night could be a dangerous one, this proves it exactly. So thank you to our entire police department, and certainly those of other areas, and using the word again, thankfully everything was okay. So at least physically in that altercation. So alleged altercation? Alleged altercation, thank you. Okay, and that concludes the mayor's report for today. That was number 7 on the agenda, I just did. So now we're at number 8, the deputy mayor's report. So Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 things I'd like to just mention. I had the great privilege of attending the graduation of the Boys Council Summer Program. It's led by Bruce Medley of our Recreation Department. It's such a marvelous program. My God, it's wonderful to see these young men and hear about what they've done and see how positive the experience has been for them. Bruce does a marvelous job in mentoring these young people, as well as the 2 other adult advisors that work with him. It's a very worthwhile program. I know Bruce got a little emotional at the end because it's possible they'll lose their funding. Somehow we have to find a way to keep it going. It's very important to the youth of this community, and hopefully we'll come up with a way to offer Bruce with support if that grant does unfortunately disappear for the future. So it's too good a program to not be there again for our people, our young people. And the other thing I would like to talk about, surprise, surprise, one of our every meeting speakers, John Tibbs, who's known to just about everybody who watches the show or who the council meetings, the show is really what it is, or attends, knows Johnny and knows, he comes up, he doesn't hold back. But I do want to acknowledge him for the article that I saw in the Home News called Seeds of Renewal, which talks about the community garden here in Franklin Township, which is in the Naaman Williams Community Garden, and it serves the Parkside community. That's where Johnny's heart is. It's home to a 28-plot garden. And it was an initiative headed by the Franklin Township Environmental Commission, as well as the council provided the community block grant to fund the garden. Obviously, there's more money needed, and Johnny's out there, and getting out there trying to get people to contribute, and he has. He's gotten Frank's Hardware and the Department of Public Works to help with the garden, and knowing him, he is out there working very hard, and you don't say no to Johnny Tibbs after a while. He wears you down. But this is a wonderful cause, and bravo, Johnny, well deserved. I was happy to see it, so thank you for what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. We're now at number 9 on the agenda, public discussion. Again, this is the only time to speak of anything of a general nature. I'll ask if you want to speak about items soon, but those will be on particular ordinances. So, when we open public discussion, you can come up to the podium. We are being audio and video recorded. So please come to the podium. Keep yourself about 3 or 4 inches from the microphone. That way we hear you properly, and it's picked up on our equipment also. As is our policy, we have people come up once per meeting, and there's no yielding of time. Please direct all your comments to the council, and if we can answer, we certainly will. And we limit people to 5 minutes so that we can hear from as many people as we can and conduct the meeting when we're fresh. And you'll hear a tone go off when there's 3 minutes has elapsed. Then when multiple tones go off, that means your 5 minutes is up, and I'll ask you to wrap up your thoughts if you're not done at that time. But we're also always glad to hear what's on anyone's mind. So is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand. When you come to the podium, please give us your name and address. Ms. Calafiore, please.
Now you're asking for something.
No, you'll be surprised. Irene Calafiore, 232 Treptow Road. We were down at the park today. Jean and I went. Bruce was working down there, so we went down to check everything out. The garden is magnificent. The cabbages are gigantic. And he said the people, about 5 o'clock, they go out there at night. And that's when they do the watering and everything else. But it's the pool, everything is beautiful. The whole section now is really nice. So I just want to let you know, we saw it.
Thank you.
Oh my, thank you. Oh. Yes.
Frank Lake, 281A Cedar Grove Lane, Somerset. I did contact the zoning board about, there's a no-cut easement along my property about 2 weeks, and I emailed Scott, and I still haven't heard any response back from him. My only beef is when a property owner, there's a 25-foot non-cut easement, and they remove the whole entire easement, and then they continue to dump the garbage even on my property line. I have a little bit of a problem. I just want you guys to be aware of it. I haven't heard any response from zoning on it, what's going on with it.
You said you spoke with Scott?
Yeah, Scott.
He's
I
an
actually
engineer.
emailed him.
Okay, that is Scott Thomas you're talking about?
No, Scott, I don't know Scott's last name, he's in zoning, and I talked to
There
Vince.
is no, that's what I'm saying, there's no Scott in zoning, there's a Scott in engineering
talked to
that would
Vince.
deal with, okay, Vince is in zoning.
Vince is in zoning, I gave him a full list of all the addresses and everything. And then I emailed, Scott is the guy that actually enforces, I guess, the zoning regulations.
Barbara Lessing.
And I still haven't seen anything back, and there's still people that continue to remove a no-cut conservation easement.
Okay, and this is, you've picked
This
an
is on
opportune,
tap.
no, I'm saying you've picked an opportune night to come,
Oh.
because if you turn around and the man in the blue shirt with the green tie is the township engineer, and so what I would say is, you could have an opportunity to speak with him right now, and he might be able to point you in the right direction for where we need to go from here.
Okay.
That's good timing.
How's that for
perfect.
service?
The only other thing is, I know it's in a resolution for Amanda Mendrell. They're supposed to erect a fence, I think, before they continue construction on the actual building after the...
Ananda Mandir, the temple
Yeah,
on Cedar Grove
And I
Lane
see
by
a
your
resolution
property.
in here, they want to reduce their bond.
That's a performance bond that won't be reduced completely until all the work is done.
Okay.
They're allowed certain steps down on their performance bond as work is completed.
I just want to make sure that,
Right.
because me and Mrs. Perry was a little concerned, because I asked her, and she says she doesn't know when they're going to do anything, but I think it was in the resolution that they
Of
do
the planning
it.
board?
Yeah, that they have to do it before the actual start erection of the building, because they
Okay.
need to get their landscaping and grading done and all.
I can speak with Mark Healy tomorrow and make sure that's being done in the proper order.
Okay, thank you, that's the only thing I got.
Excuse
Good
me,
e-
Mr. Mayor, before she comes up, I think that what she's going to speak about is very important. It's coming up, I believe, in October,
October 5th.
and I'm glad she's here today, and I would just like to welcome her here, and that we should all listen to what this beautiful young lady has to tell us.
Good evening, and thank
Hi.
you so much for giving me the opportunity. First, I would like to thank the Township of Franklin for, my name is Dorothy Reed,
Yeah.
and I'm
name
here
and
with
address,
Sisters Network of Central New Jersey.
yeah. Thanks, Miss Reed.
Okay. I would like to thank the Township of Franklin for allowing Sisters Network to have their walk in this community for the past 8 years. Now, I see on your list, we are resolution number 13372. We're down for a special event permit. So we're hoping again that we will be allowed to have our 5K breast cancer awareness walk here on October the 5th at Franklin High School. The walk is so important. It's one of our biggest fundraisers. And with the money we do, we have a breast cancer assistant program. And any woman that's in Central New Jersey that call our office as they're going through the journey of breast cancer, we help them, whether it's with their co-pays, whether it's with wigs, prosthetics. If they call our office, we do provide them with assistance. That's what we do with the money that we raise at the walk. And a little bit about the walk is that Franklin High School is a fun-filled day for everyone. We have face painting for the children, we have a DJ there, we have aerobics, warm up before the 5K run and walk. We have vendors there selling items. We have a special tent for women that are breast cancer survivors to make them feel special. We give them special gifts. We have Robert Wood Johnson and St. Peter's there doing free screening, which is important, taking glucose, taking blood pressure, checking for diabetes, so you can get free screenings while you're there. It's a fun, fun day. We're looking forward to it, and we open it up to anyone that's available on that day to come out and join us, to have fun, not only to have fun, but to raise money for a worthy cause, and which is women here in breast cancer. And I do thank Mayor Levine, who have been to several, probably all of our walks.
so,
We thank you
yeah.
for coming out every year.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Wright, you are so correct.
Can I have my T-shirt now?
Thanks, Ms. Reed. Yes. Mr. Tibbs?
Is the
Thank
mayor
you.
horning into my territory?
Oh, no, I back off.
Okay, all right, okay. Just checking now.
Gotta be careful, watch.
Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside. I'll be very brief. First of all, one of the items I had down here is to also, we also support breast cancer awareness that Ms. Dorothy Reed just spoke about, and I just want you guys to know that we all support that whole effort with Kimberly and the rest of us. Secondly, I think we're going to get through this summer. We've been working very hard down the area down there. We still have pots of young people in certain areas in the park with nothing to do all day long. And Councilman Francois, I hope if we get through this year, that next year, the county government has a summer program for kids every year that I was at SCAP. I don't know why we can't get that summer program back in Franklin Township again. I hope by next year we get together some kind of way and convince the county government to give us our summer program like we've always had.
Is that the YES program?
Yeah, it was the
Yes.
summer program they gave us every summer. You know, SCAP, it came through SCAP, but it was the Housing Authority had some also, okay? So we're going to try to do next year, work hard, but okay. I want to thank you guys for all the support you guys giving me for the senior garden, and thank you very much, Councilman Sherman. We had a great time supporting that garden. Of course, Councilman Chase was there also. They thank you very much for the support you've given us. And also, I met this Miss Sanchez just now, that this year is the second year that we're not able to take a part of the Senior Citizen Voucher Program, and which she runs, Ms. Sanchez runs. And it's because we have no farmers market in the Franklin Township Parkside area, in that whole Hampton Street business area, there is no farmers. I'm encouraging that you guys to contact the farmers to bring their stand down in the Franklin Township, Hampton Street business area, so we can contact the senior citizens so they have somewhere to spend their vouchers.
They
We
don't
ha-
have it this year down on Hamilton Street?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh.
That's the second year.
Councilwoman, one quick question. The reason why it wasn't there, we did move it from on Hamilton Street to the intersection of Hamilton and Franklin Boulevard. At that particular location, they said they wouldn't come back because the revenue that was generated on that corner could not sustain them when they kept coming back, because it was brought to my attention by the Hamilton Business District of what they were concerned about, and that was one of the issues. They would come out and hang out all day long, and the people just wouldn't come, shop there. That's why we moved the
Well, that's why,
farmers market.
Councilman, that we want to get the voucher program, and you told the people to come back down, is once Ms. Sand says, we have the vouchers, we could spend the money now, immediately, if you get the people to come back to the Hampton Street business area. We're prepared now. You see our problem? We don't, just the second year, we don't have nowhere, all the senior citizens, they have every place in town, in the county, but nowhere in Franklin Township.
Maybe they should move it back to John's Plaza.
Yeah, they're not there, they're not there either. They're nowhere.
It was down there, and that's why we went to Franklin
Yeah,
Boulevard.
and it was down there, and it was up there, but they're not there now.
That's
I
correct.
Let's get them back now. And I'm also in support of the, Councilman Tate, if you can get a farmer to come down there, they can bring the whole stand down there, we would appreciate it. That way, Mr. Sanchez can give us the vouchers and we can spend the vouchers. Okay, thank you. I'm also, another thing, I'll be finished tonight, in 19 AF, I'm supportive of that's the First Baptist Church block party. That I want you guys to understand that when they give that block party, all of the non-church kids go there too. So it helps us out too. So we're in support of that insurance, of that permit. Thank you very much. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you.
Joe is so great.
Anyone else would like to speak? Anything of a general nature? Mr. LaCourte?
My foot fell asleep.
You want that on the record?
Put it on the record. Now that you're back from vacation for your executive session.
What address does your foot live at?
Oh, I'm here tonight just to.
Name and address, Mr.
Oh, that's right. 420. No, I'm sorry. Bob LaCourte. Where the heck do I live? 265 South Middlebush Road, Somerset, New Jersey. I'm here tonight to just talk about our second annual Franklin PBA versus the Senior League. Not as serious as the women with their walk, but ours is a little bit more fun. It's Sunday, September 15th, noon till 3 p.m. Any of the Giant fans, don't worry, your game doesn't start till after 4, so you can still come out. It's going to benefit the food bank. We're asking for a suggested donation. It's free. It's $5. We've had that last year where trophy was presented for the police department. They won the game, but lost when it came to injuries, and which was a nice trophy, and they'll be it will be presented to them at the Canal Fest. This year we have a sponsor who is going to bring the food and things, drinks, software. It's the Super Stop and Shop. They were in Franklin Park. They were nice enough to donate all the food and everything, and play the PBA. I just hope we have a great day like we did last year. And guys, you're more than welcome to come. And again, it benefits the food bank, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope to see you all there.
Date and time?
Oh, date and time, September 15th. I thought I said that.
I didn't hear you.
Sunday, September 15th. Game will start around 12.
Where is it?
You gonna play?
Lower Inman, Park. That's off of JFK around Loop.
Like to see that.
And you're coaching one of the teams.
Okay,
No, I'm going to stay outside of that. I'm just going to, I'm the commissioner. I'm gonna stay. I might have one or two of you up there as the co-captains or whatever. I'll find that out later, when
Okay.
you can, Councilman Kramer can be the honorary captain of the police, and Mayor, you can be the honorary captain of the seniors who are going to win this year.
Okay.
Or Deputy Mayor Roz, either one. But it's a lot of fun, and the guys are good. We play. We're gonna, not we. John, am I right? They're going to play to win this year. So come out. It's a lot of fun, and the cops really enjoy it, and the folks that go really enjoy it, and we're going to have some fun. Right? And again, too, it's for the food bank, and we're asking for a $5 suggested donation rather than canned, because the cash buys a lot more than if you bring some canned goods. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, my name is George Keene, 4291 Highway 27, that I wanted to address the upcoming issue of the water main, or the lack thereof, functioning one on a section of Route 27. That I want to commend the board or the council on, what hopefully will pass as an appropriation to look at the engineering, but this is a problem that can only get worse. And fundamentally what we're talking about here is neglected infrastructure. It's infrastructure that for as long as people have been living there, and if anyone can figure out when that original pipe was put in, that it needs maintenance. There's not a infrastructure item on this planet that doesn't need either maintenance or replacement. And we're at that point now. That recently got notification that they had flushed the water mains in the township because of an E. coli concern. Well, unfortunately, the pipeline, the main on this section of Route 27, maxes out at 20 psi, and it's not flushable. That this is a critical health issue at this time, particularly at this time of year. That I don't have to tell you about the maintenance problems that have occurred, usually in the cold months. Well, we're getting at the point where a major blowout would be a service providing problem beyond comprehension. That, you may say that, well, we can do bottled water. You know how many bottles of water it takes to flush a toilet? That, I just throw that out there. There is also the issue of fire insurance. Now, I answered yes on my reapplication for fire insurance. Does your house, is it within 500 feet of a fire hydrant? I answered yes. I didn't add the detail that's a non-functioning fire hydrant. Now, again, we get back to, this is infrastructure service that we've had in that area since the construction of that pipe, original construction. As I understand, it was not installed properly. It was set on a rock bed rather than a sand bed, but that is a problem that the current township government needs to rectify. That as taxpayers, we are entitled to infrastructure that was functioning and operated adequately in the past, and it's incumbent upon the council to rectify this problem. Admittedly, it's expensive, but amortized over time through our tax dollars, that it needs to be taken care of. The water pressure is, significant, but relative to the health concerns and fire safety, that this is something that it's time to address and resolve. And as you well know, the economics, the longer you put this off, you're going to have to do it. If you do it in the face of an emergency, the cost is going to be astronomical, and if you postpone it in 10, it's not going to last 10 years, but every year that you postpone it, the cost probably goes up minimally 5% or more. So that I wish you well. It's like that you've taken a step in the right direction in the appropriation of the engineering fund, but clearly this is something that needs to get beyond planning. It needs to be executed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you much for that. Okay, anyone else from the public? Right here. Yes. Thanks.
Lynn Collins, 4251 Route 27, Little Rocky Hill. This property has been in the same family for over 50 years. Mr. Vornlacher, Mr. Renone, Council, and especially Mr. Ted Chase. My main purpose this evening is to address the quality of water. It's a beat-up old main that is constantly breaking and being patched. Between the old crusty cracked pipe and the Superfund site, there is a strong probability of cross-contamination. I had to hook up to public water since I could not use the well water, but now I'm worried about the city water. The last notice received was E. coli in the water, and when you least expect it, there is no water. Another issue is the low water pressure in the fire hydrants being turned off in 2007. This was the last time I came to a council meeting, which that fell on deaf ears. We are located between two gas pipelines running through Little Rocky Hill, and we are surrounded by woods. In closing, not only do I have to pay for public water, I spend more for bottled water for drinking and cooking, since at times the water out of the tap comes out with brown sediment. This is not what the quality of life should be in the year 2013. I have emailed council members over the past year of the problem with the water. Most of you have opened the emails, most of you have not. Ted Chase has been very instrumental in helping, along with Roz Sherman, in trying to get this problem fixed. So I ask you, please, do something about it before there is a major, major health concern. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Councilman Kramer.
So I am not disagreeing with anyone. In fact, I've been working hard to help with Councilman Chase. Councilman Chase has been out in the lead, but I've been working hard with him to replace this. I just don't want to scare any people out there who are microbiologists or understand microbiology. These are coliform bacteria. E. coli is a coliform bacteria, but these are not E. coli. E. coli is a more dangerous organism. I'm not saying your water isn't contaminated. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to be a little more precise.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Sanchez.
I know what to do.
Shonda Sanchez, 27 Castleton Avenue. I actually just came here to support Irene and Jean. However, my name was brought up by Mr. Tibbs for a concern that I've also had, but I just wanted to clarify for the record that the program, as far as the fruit and vegetable vouchers, it is a state program, and I assist the county in distributing them every year. So we do the best that we can to get them to as many seniors as we can. However, there have been some obstacles. You've pointed that out. I've tried to, with the help of United Seniors, to address that as far as transportation and getting our seniors to the farmers and the fruits and vegetable stands. However, I found out that this year, none of the farmers applied to the state in order to have that available here in Franklin Township. So I have met with representatives from the governor's office, and I've spoken with them so that we can see about making a change to this in the at the state level. So if you definitely want to speak with me, I have no problem. I can give you all the information that I have. Just rest assured I am working on that, because we really need to get our seniors this program so that they can have the fruits and vegetables that they need. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. our manager, Mr. Vornlocker, please.
I received a letter from, from Karen Troutman that she asked me to read to council tonight during the public portion because she could not make the meeting. So if you just indulge me here for a moment. It is with regret that I am not able to attend tonight's meeting as I am currently at a planning meeting for Canal Fest, but I still hope my message comes across well. My name is Karen Troutman. I would like to say a few words of thanks to the Town Council for their efforts in ensuring that the 2013 Franklin High School project graduation event ran smoothly. To give you some quick background, the Franklin High School Project Graduation Committee has been in existence for 20 years. It is almost completely comprised of Franklin High School parents and has no official affiliation with the Franklin Township Public Schools. Its purpose is to provide adult-supervised alcohol and drug-free celebratory activities for the recent graduates. I have served on the committee for the past 3 years. Franklin High School held its graduation ceremony on Thursday, June 27th, and project graduation was held that evening. However, as the time came closer to board approximately 300 of the recent graduates on the buses at the municipal complex that evening to transport them to the sunny Werblin Rec Center at Rutgers University, there was going to be one clear problem with this year's event: the weather. The bus staging was scheduled, as always, to take place outside at approximately 9 p.m., but the weather predicted heavy rains and flash flooding, and this time it was 100% accurate. I called the committee chairperson, and he did not have a contingency plan. I then called Councilman Kramer and explained the dilemma of trying to assign the 300 graduates and chaperones to 9 buses according to pre-made lists, check IDs, deal with last-minute issues that always arise, and finally board everyone and take off to the Rutgers campus, all while a severe thunderstorm was in progress. It is my understanding that Councilman Kramer then got in touch with the township manager, who was able to make the community center open and available to us, which proved to be invaluable. I am overwhelmed at how quickly the town council responded and how well the boarding of the buses went that evening. Without the communication and cooperation between Project Graduation Committee and Town Council, I do not know how we would have been able to pull the night off. On behalf of the Project Graduation Committee, I also want to acknowledge and thank Mayor Brian Levine, Councilwoman Raj Sherman, Councilwoman Kimberly Francois, and Councilman Phil Kramer for their support and presence at the event that evening as well. Karen Troutman.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Kramer.
And last time I gave a commendation relating to that, and one person I didn't mention was Mr. Vornlocker, who went out of his way and stayed late to ensure that that went well. At one point, we had everything under control, and there were people there from the community center that were there able to be responsible, and I said, Bob, why don't you go home? And he said, as I remember, I'm responsible for these buildings. So he stayed till the very last person left. So I do also want to thank him.
Okay. Thank you. If no other public comment, anyone else? Is there a motion?
See no one come forward, Mayor, a motion to close public portion?
Second.
Moved and second to close public discussion for this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed for this meeting. Thank you. So I'm just, okay, council comments is coming after. Okay, so going to Little Rocky Hill Water Main Project. Usually these are later in the meeting, but a few council people, and I think the manager had asked that be moved up a little bit so that anyone interested could see this. So we, it's item 10-1, which is the ordinance, and 10-2, which is the resolution. And this is, just quickly, you'll see on 1 and 2, there's a difference in the cost. Number 1 has $210,000. Number 2 has $182,300, about $17,700 spread. And that's a, there might be extra DEP permits, et cetera, so that's the difference between these two. Also in our, this is for the large part for the soft cost. The actual construction will be more than this, a couple million, but that's going to come later on in phases. And also, this has been in our last budget, so this is no further additional money for this year to allocate. It's already done that. So before we start, Mr. Zelnick, did you want to give us any further overview? No? Okay.
I know the water operator and myself, Howard Chi and myself have met with Public Works Committee, Administrative Committee, and Finance Oversight Committee, so we kind of laid out everything at that time. If there's any other questions that anybody has or requires any further information, both of us are here to answer.
Okay. And quick, Mr. Zelnick is our township engineer who oversees our Public Works Department also.
Mayor, I just have one question.
Vassanella?
Yeah, Tom, as you probably recall, I was at the Public Works Committee meeting where we kind of gave it our stamp of approval to send it for tonight's vote. The only thing I'm wondering if you can spell out a little bit more is, assuming this passes and this thing goes into action, somewhat of the timeline, how, for the residents that have been waiting a while, and then I imagine that timeline will play out where Public Works Committee, and perhaps others, but Public Works would get some updates on as that report is panning out.
If council approves the bond ordinance and approves the awarding the contract to the consultant tonight, it's about a 6-month design on this. There's some DEP permits involved in there that take up to 3 months to get. So we're figuring it's a 6-month design phase on this. At some point during that design phase, the council would have to authorize to fund the entire to fund the construction of the project. We would be looking at 6 months from today would put us into March, April of next year going out for bid, and probable construction starting next summer. Construction phase, I would say, is going to take the better 3 to 6 months, more on the 6-month side to complete.
So if everything goes well, this whole process might be winding up this time next year into the fall?
Yes.
Winter, maybe.
Oh, hopefully. But we'll keep the committee, Public Works, and then the public in general informed as it
One of the things that will slow down the construction is depending how much rock they hit out there during their excavation. And as part of the engineering proposal, it includes doing some test pits and some borings to determine what kind of rock excavation will be needed out there. So that could be factored into the construction.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, also, just technically on this, you know how it's happening. Number one is the ordinance, which allocates the money, and the second resolution is awarding the contract, so it's in 2 steps. Also, the ordinance, it's an introduction, so we vote on it today. This is how it's technically done. All ordinances have 2 votes. So at our next meeting, barring any problems, there'll be a second vote, which puts it into law, and at that point, if you want to say anything on that particular ordinance, you can. So this is the introduction. It doesn't finalize it. That comes in at the next meeting. So this is item 10A on the agenda, ordinance 4035-13, Water Utility Capital Ordinance providing for engineering services and related costs for the Little Rocky Hill water main lying in the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $210,000, therefore, from the Water Utility Capital Improvement Fund of the Township to pay for the cost thereof. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, September 10th, 2013, at 7:00 p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Sorry.
Okay. I think Councilman Chase moved it.
Councilman Chase moved it. I'll second it.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. No discussion. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 10A, ordinance 4035-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Of course, yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. So that introduces the contract and final vote next time, September 10th, and this awards the contract now. So it's Resolution 13-388, award non-fair and open professional services agreement, Hatchmont McDonald Professional Engineering Services, Route 27 main replacement, and Route 518 booster station modifications, amount not to exceed $182,300. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
One way or the other, that went also. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on Resolution 13-388, 10B on the agenda, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, for this item, in final engineering, and then the actual construction's going to come later on. But it's on the road. It'll work. Yes. Okay. Thank you much. Okay.
Yes.
So we now have item 11, which is our standing committee reports, and of which we have 5. And the first is Administration Committee. Anyone want to do?
Oh, I don't think, we didn't have a meeting, so
Okay,
we have nothing to
Deputy Mayor
report.
Roger. Okay. And then next one, Financial Oversight, Councilman Kramer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a rather long discussion about...
Excuse me, Councilman Kramer?
Councilman.
Everybody
right.
left.
They all want water.
Can you?
Nothing personal.
They're happy now. Yeah. Good
See,
night.
Councilman Kramer started talking and they all left. All right.
Story of my life.
We're here for the water line.
They want water.
My wife must have taught them that trick. My poor wife, she's the brunt of all these jokes.
Okay.
She is a wonderful woman. So there was a long discussion report from the sewage authority, well, not from the sewage authority, from our examination of the sewage authority. However, Mr. Regan couldn't be there due to a family emergency and can't be here tonight, and he is the liaison. So I'm going to delay that discussion until he can be here. The Little Rocky Hill water main was discussed also, and you saw the results of that. We went over mid-year expenditures, and that's where we go through the major line items, and we look at how much of those line items have been spent by mid-year, and you would expect most of them to be half spent. Some of them are not spent at all, such as snow removal. Certain things are seasonal, but everything was pretty much right in line. We also discussed, something I discussed here briefly, was the concept of legal oversight, where the township attorney would essentially function as the director of law in the municipality and oversee the other legal entities. The Financial Oversight Committee voted that that was a good idea and wished it to be examined by the admin committee before implementation. We also discussed Naaman Williams Park Pool, the funding of the lifeguards, and there was some difficulty in getting lifeguards to work there, and we basically cut back on, what was it, 1 hour, 2 hours?
2 hours.
2 hours.
1 day a week.
1 day a week, and that kind of, that covered everything. And that is the Financial Oversight Committee report.
Mayor?
Yes.
That's mine. That's
Oh,
report.
and everything. Okay.
Financial oversight.
Thanks, sorry. Okay, next we've got Public Safety. Councilman Vasanella?
We met prior to the last council meeting, and I believe Councilman Reagan gave an update. We'll be meeting again in early September, and we'll give appropriate report after that meeting, Mayor.
Okay.
Oh, I did want to mention one thing on a public safety note. The manager will let me know if I'm not supposed to. Okay. I'm sorry, Mayor, so in reference to public safety, although we didn't get into detail at the meeting about it, Chief Roberts has had extended invitation to all the council members, I believe, to attend what was some very intense and important drills by the SWAT team, the county SWAT team, which took place at the high school last month. And although we hope to never have to utilize those resources, it dealt with active shooter situations. And without going to all the detail, I want to thank the chief, Councilman Reagan, and Councilman Chase was there for a while. We actually were there in the midst of what was going on and having everything explained to us in detail, who, what, when, where, why, and I can say in general that I'm very pleased to know that some of the most important people on the county SWAT team and responders in active shooter situations are from Franklin. I don't want to mention any names because I'm not sure of all of them, and I don't know if they want their names mentioned, but they are some of the key people helping Somerset County SWAT team stay up to par and beyond and train individuals from all towns. There was representatives from many municipalities there training, as there was some officers from Franklin, and it's very good to know that we are ready, God forbid we ever have to be for a situation like that. That's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Land use, open space, recreation, and parks.
Council.
Yeah, we met.
Councilman Kramer?
Councilman Wright has, in his own words, punted this to me, and I'm actually ready to discuss it in my council comments, so I'll reserve it till then.
Okay, thanks. And Public Works.
Public Works met.
Councilman
and
Chase.
You fundamentally about the Little Rocky Hill water main and agreed that we should go ahead with it. And you saw the going ahead with it tonight.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, just want to add one
Yes.
thing to the Public
Yes,
Works
Councilman
Committee
Basanelli.
report, because I had some residents who've been monitoring the situation, and that is that without going to the boring details of the scheduling or rescheduling, we will be having JFK Boulevard from Easton Avenue up to approximately Webster Road repaved. It probably will be done in September or October. The hope, originally we were going to have it done this spring. We were waiting, though, because of the school bus schedule using that road constantly, to do it in the summer. There was an issue with some state funds because some of it's coming from some state grants. Although we were going to repave it anyway, we try to include roads on our schedule that come from state and other funding sources, and with that funding source, there was some paperwork and bidding issues that had to be resolved. So for those who were waiting for it to be paved, then waiting again for the summer when school wasn't in session, it is on schedule to be paved this fall. Just let people know, that was one of the worst errors when school is in session. But then we were guaranteed, we were reassured at that meeting, Councilman Chase was at, and I, and Councilwoman Sherman, that we would, they'd be able to do it, it would be safe, it would get done, and ultimately take a little bit more effort in the background, but we would, it would be done, and the school buses would move safely. That's it, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so next we have council comments. Oh, so maybe we'll,
Let's start then.
okay, we'll start here then. Councilman James Vasanella.
Most of it I covered in the reports here with Public Safety and Public Works. Thank Irene and Mrs. Doyle, who have come in front of the community foundation board a few times asking for money, but I'll tell you, when they do, it's for a good reason, and they are volunteers who go beyond the call of duty, as they say. They've come and helped groups that I don't even think they're formally involved with help get services and grant money. So again, just an extra acknowledgement of their work. Obviously, the water situation on 27 is moving as we discussed, has been discussed, and hopefully will start going through unanimously with votes from council. The market, the farmers market, we will try to bring that back. I'm sure the executive director will look into it. There was more issues than simply, it's not that anybody didn't want it. It had changed location. There were some issues, as mentioned by Councilman Wright, and if any way possible, Hamilton Board anyway can help resurrect that. We will, and if it has to find another home outside Hamilton, it will, one way or the other. We will work at getting that reestablished, the farmers market, which tends to be a trend in a lot of towns now, which we were way out in front of the curve on years ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
First, I'd like to supplement what the deputy mayor's report about the Naaman Williams Garden. I have to give a very great deal of credit to John Walker, a former member of the Environmental Commission, who really set that in motion, and more than that, did a good deal of the construction with some assistance from other members of the Environmental Commission. I was there when we were putting in the fence posts, for instance, but he just really has a major responsibility for creating that garden, as Johnny Tibbs has had for recruiting people to use it, and Carolyn Martin is, I think, doing a lot of the managing now. And the Environmental Commission has suggested forming a committee on community gardens, both to help manage the community gardens. We also have one at Pine Grove Manor School, and I hope that we'll have more. So if we have such a committee, they can both exchange information and help administer, and I hope set in motion more community gardens, and hopefully we'll also get representation from the Lutheran Church on Amwell Road that has a community garden. Second thing, last night I attended, and our manager attended, for which I thank him again, a meeting of the Kingston Village Advisory Committee, meeting with a large number of people from the Kingston community. I think the head count was 48. We're very concerned about the state of the Kingston School, which of course has been unused for a number of years now. I think probably since about 2007, maybe January 2008. And there are problems with vandalism, problems with graffiti. It's been boarded up. It's become an eyesore. And the consensus, or at least the large majority of the meeting, felt that we should look very seriously into taking down what's referred to as the new wing of the school that's only 50 years or so old, while preserving the really historic old building, which is just about 100 years old. So the manager said he will look into getting estimates on what it would cost to take down the new wing and seal off its connection with the old wing. And this is, I think everybody hates to see this happen, but we've been trying, KVAC has been trying for the last 4 years to find a new tenant. there's a lot of constraints on who we can rent it to under Green Acres rules. There's constraints on taking it down. We have to get permission from the State Historic Preservation Office. But at least even if in a sense it's a step back, at least we're making a step to do something about it if we can't get it, get a tenant for whom it would be worth fixing it up, which by now is probably $1 million job. But I wanted to report on that. Apart from that, well, you've heard about the Little Rocky Hill water main, and I am very grateful that we're finally moving ahead with that. I'll just point out that for the line as it now is, we buy water from South Brunswick, and we're losing money on that. We pay South Brunswick more per gallon than the township rate at which we sell it to the consumers. So when we get this connected up to the township water line, we will be saving money every year in that way, as well as the general obligation to have an effective and safe infrastructure there. So I'm very happy to go ahead with that, even if we're taking a step back, perhaps, on the Kingston School. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to just get? Yeah, do you want to go?
Are we doing council comments?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay,
Or do
Councilwoman
we-
Kimberly Francois, you okay, or should I come back?
We're doing, is it? Okay. We're doing council comments?
Yes.
Okay. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. I was hoping that Johnny Tibbs was here because I had an opportunity to go to the Parkside Garden, and when I went over there to visit, I was given some of the goods out of the garden. And I had a wonderful time eating the green tomatoes that were picked for me that day. It's a wonderful garden, and I think it's commendable what's being done over there. So I wanted to thank Johnny because he handpicked those tomatoes for me himself. Also,
Probably somebody else's tomatoes.
but they were somebody else's tomatoes. But believe it or not, the individual that he picked the tomatoes, he asked me to come back and he would give me some more. So he was waiting for me to come back. So I have a standing open invitation for green tomatoes. I was quite excited about that. I also wanted just to mention that I'm very happy about the water infrastructure improvement project that the council voted on tonight. I know Councilman Chase, that's your area, and your constituents will be more than pleased about the opportunity there. And also, I was at the Boys Council graduation, which was so inspiring, and our Bruce Medley, the Franklin Youth Initiative Program Coordinator, did get very choked up about the fact that the Boys Council program probably would be discontinued because of funds. But our Franklin Youth Initiative corporate sponsor was there that day as the keynote speaker, and afterwards he said that he would do whatever he could to move that program forward as the Franklin Youth Initiative corporate sponsor. And he's the executive vice president over at Investors Bank. So I'm hopeful, Deputy Mayor, that we'll still have that program next year for our
Great.
young people.
That
I'm
would
really
be
hopeful.
wonderful.
Yeah. And I hope to be able to go to the PBA and the senior baseball, softball event on September 15th. I've never gone before, but I'm putting it on my calendar this year. I think it's going to be entertaining. And also, our township manager said he couldn't figure out if he could be on the seniors team or should he be on the PBA team. I told him he should, get on the winning team, join the seniors.
Or maybe he should be the umpire.
That's a dangerous place to
I don't want to do that.
No, I hope the PBA doesn't get mad at me. Just a joke, just a joke. And as far as, I was also hoping that Johnny Tibbs would be here, because we did say, we have been working on the YES program. I know that's what he's referring to at the county, and we actually have somebody coming in to talk to us about that as part of Franklin Youth Initiative. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the videographer could show the projection screen, I'd appreciate it. And you guys might as well take your shoes off. This is going to be a little while. The mayor read a press release earlier in the meeting, that about an incident that happened, I think 2 nights ago now. And it just so happens I've been working on something that might help in this situation, or prevent such situations. This is something I had looked at for about looking at for about 3 weeks, and eventually talked to the manager and the chief of police about it, and we participated in a webinar Tuesday evening to learn more about this. Both of them seem to be enthusiastic or cautiously enthusiastic, wanting to learn more. But the name of this is what I'm talking about is a computer program named PredPol. That stands for Predictive Policing. And if anyone is interested, you can go to predpol.com to learn more. This is a brief overview. It uses a predictive algorithm that employs existing anonymous police data to predict areas where crime is most likely to occur on a particular shift. It increases the likelihood that police will be in the right area at the right time to either stop crime or prevent crime. One of the original designed cities was Santa Cruz, California, which interestingly enough has a population of 60,342. Franklin, for those who doesn't know, has a population of 62,000. And the crime statistics, which may be difficult to read on TV for 2012, which I've highlighted in the red box, the chief and the manager commented very much parallel the crime statistics for Franklin. So the working model for this system, which has only been there for 2 years, is a model that is very similar to a town of like Franklin. When they used this model in the first year, crime was reduced by 19%. What this can, so when you have something like crime was reduced by 19%, well, for all we know, crime might have been reduced by 19% if nothing had gone on, if you hadn't done anything. Maybe other issues, other pressures had reduced crime. So they have some more data about that. The LAPD has several divisions, and they deployed this in the Foothill Division, which has 250,000 residents. And so what the axis up here, all these names up on top here, are the various divisions, and Foothill is in the center and is in red. And so this is the zero axis. Anything above the zero axis means crime increased. Anything below the zero axis means crime decreased. And unfortunately, it's cut off at the bottom. But serious property crime, as you can see, was fairly mixed for the places that did not use PredPol, but was down 12.5% to Foothill, which did use PredPol. And this over here, this minus 25% decrease in crime was due to a measure of burglaries. So it seems to be useful by reducing Santa Cruz by 19% and between 12 and 25%, depending on which parameter you're looking at in LA in the one area it was deployed. So let me show you what it will look like to the officer. This, I believe, is a map of Santa Cruz. I could be wrong. Maybe this is LA. But this was just an example map where they would have a map of the area, and then they would have boxes superimposed on the map. Each box is 500 feet by 500 feet. And the way they kind of explain this is, if you took a really experienced officer and said, you know, where's the most likely area you're going to have crime tonight? He could tell you. And where's the second one? He could probably tell you. But where's the third, fourth, and fifth? He would probably have difficulty telling you where that is. Now, this is not simply hotspot data. There are other programs out there that do that. Hotspot data says, well, there was a crime here last year or last week, and there seems to be crime here this season, so there's probably going to be crime here again. It's kind of like the Farmer's Almanac method of predicting weather, whereas this uses recent statistics and some mathematical models and actually makes predictions of where the crime would be. Sometimes the boxes indicate accurately where crime will be where there hasn't been crime before. Just to show you what 500 feet by 500 feet is, that's a map of East Millstone, which is obviously familiar to me, but maybe not everyone in town. So this is Market Street along the canal. You could see Market Street which is a short street, doesn't even fit within the 500-foot map. So it's a relatively specific area. This may be more specific, well, it's difficult to see here. This is a satellite view of the football field behind the middle school, and you could see the football field fits within a 500-foot by 500-foot square. So it is relatively specific. The cost of this is, you know what, I'm not even going to say the word, only $25,000 a year. Now, we're always cautious about making any kind of number an only. But when you look at a reduction in crime of 10 to 20%, that is a relatively small amount to pay, in my opinion. There's a $5,000 setup fee, and if we can incorporate New, North, and South Brunswick in this, then the cost to us would be reduced to $17,500 a year. The chief of police thinks there's a chance we could use the surrender costs or the surrender forfeitures from drug law enforcement to pay for this. That's not a promise, but he thinks there's a possibility for that. Now, what I want to do is this, what the next step I'd like to see is Predpol is going to be presenting their show to a big city fairly close to us. I don't know if they want me to disclose that city publicly on the August 27th. So they would be available to visit us on August 26th, and my hope would be that the chief of police could persuade the Brunswick chiefs of police to come for that. And I would also suggest that our public safety committee avail themselves of that time, and so they can look at this. To put $25,000 a year in perspective, our starting officers start at $30,000 a year. Now, when I make that comparison, I'm not saying this is instead of police. You know, when what happened the other night happened, a computer program is not going to help subdue that person. You still need police. I'm just trying to put it in perspective of what the costs are. So I'm encouraging the chief of police and the manager to arrange for this, and I am hoping that the Public Safety Committee can avail of themselves of this. This is something that could significantly improve the quality of life in town. Okay, the land use issues that were discussed are three different land use issues. There's three different things. We currently have on the books enforcement, or we have regulations on our books, such as you need to keep your house painted, you need to have gutters on your house, you need to have rusted areas on your house covered. And there are some people who are living next to homes that are not following this, and it degrades the property of the current homeowner. Now, this is something that we discussed, and we have to be kind of careful with enforcement of this. You know, it's something that could be abused. It could be abused by a neighbor who doesn't like another neighbor and sees one chip of peeling paint on the house and therefore reports them. So it needs to be carefully enforced, but it is on the books, and there are places in town that it is not being enforced. And I'm getting calls from people about this. Another issue that we have, I'm calling it the three strikes policy. Currently, if we have an abandoned house or an abandoned property and they're not mowing their lawns, the procedure is that we inform the Board of Health, or the Department of Health. The Department of Health goes out there, serves notice. We wait for a certain amount of time to go by, and then we hire a contractor. The contractor goes out and cuts the lawn, and then 2 weeks later, when the lawn needs to be cut again, we go through the same process. What I'm proposing, and what I think, and what we discussed, and what I think I'd like the township attorney to write up an ordinance on, or perhaps our health department could write the ordinance, would be a three strikes policy, where if we go through that 3 times and they've still not responded or are not taking care of the property, then each time they are warned that after 3 times, we will go ahead and continue to do this, and each time we send someone out, then a lien goes on the property, and the liens will build and build and build. So this is a way. We have a lot of houses under foreclosure or that have been taken by banks, and the banks are not stepping up. This is a way to maintain the properties a bit better. The last is something that's already on the books as well, and that's the abandoned property list. A few months ago, we did have a woman come here and complain that one of the condos in her development had been burned out and had sat there for a number of years burned out. We do have, and she pointed it out, and it's taken me some time to research it, we do have a means of dealing with that, and that's the abandoned property list. And the property has to fit certain criteria. It has to be abandoned. They could be paying their taxes. That is not one of them. That is one criteria you could use, but they don't have to fulfill that criteria. But if they're abandoned and they're not maintaining the property, then we can put the house into, let me make sure I get the words right, a tax lien, or I'll let the manager.
It's a municipal lien, is what it amounts to.
But we can put the house, we can eventually foreclose on the house.
You can, yes.
Okay, so that sounds a lot like Big Brother to me, and that's a scary thing, and that's something that we would have to handle very carefully. The manager is the one who decides which would be on, what properties would go on the house, what properties would go on the list, and there is provisions for adequate notice, giving people time to do things. But let me show you. So there's a property, and again, the lights in here are a little bit bright to see it, but that roof is falling apart. That window is boarded up. The grass there would be at least up to my waist, and this is how that property sits. And if you look to the right and left of it, I didn't take great pictures of them, but those are nicely kept houses. The lawns are nicely kept. There's landscaping. They're painted. Those people shouldn't have to live next to this. So I'm not in charge. I have stood out here and wailed against using eminent domain, but railed, not wailed, railed against using eminent domain. But I do think that people need to be responsible for these things, and with adequate notice, we should have a means of taking care of these things. I think we owe this to our other citizens. So I have asked, and the the Land Use Committee has asked for the manager to begin to collect data on this, and we will all have to monitor this very carefully to make sure it is not abused. I'm not accusing the manager of this. In fact, the manager is 100% on board with that this is something that could be abused, and we have to be very careful and go very slowly with it. This is another property which is abandoned, but it's an example of maybe we wouldn't need to use it here. That's a property that we believe may be rehabilitated by the owner, and that's something we would keep our hands off. That may become a liquor store, and we would keep our hands off of that and let the commercial area work where it can. Okay, then the other thing discussed at the Land Use Committee were 2 lots next to the Macedonia Church. I hope I spelled that correctly.
Yeah.
How about that? I got that right. There are 2 lots adjacent to the Macedonia Church. They're not big enough to be building lots. The church has expressed interest in it, and the Land Use Committee suggested that these lots be put up for sale. So that would have to go to an auction. We can't just sell it to the church. The Land Use Committee thought that was a good idea. If others on council think it's not a good idea, then they might want to speak up to prevent that. Otherwise, the manager will probably take that as a direction to go ahead with that. So, hearing none, I shall continue. This is another property that I have been working very hard on. Gina Chanella has also worked hard with me. This is the infamous 109 Van Cleef property, and in the flyers I've been sending out, it's called That Ugly Red House on Van Cleef. This house is owned by the state. They bought it when they were doing the thing for the reservoir. They initially rented it out. It has always been in poor repair. Eventually, they stopped renting it out, and it has been abandoned for at least 2 years. Kids were breaking into it, having parties inside. It's been a real problem. Gina and I Gina cleaned up the property, and I've been petitioning the state to tear down the house. You can't see it very easily, but off to the side is a backhoe that is sitting there ready to tear it down. I think they put that there thinking that I would stop calling. As soon as I saw it, I called them and asked them, well, okay, I see the backhoe, when are you going to tear it down? Fortunately, though, so they've responded that should be going down in a week or 2, but fortunately, one of our fire prevention officers, Doug Kowalski, heard about this, and he realized an abandoned property about to be torn down is an opportunity for firefighters to practice on the house, I'll call it breaking into the house, cutting a hole in the roof for venting, doing a search for a lost person in the house with smoke filling the house. It's simulated smoke. They don't actually set it on fire. So that's, if I get the title wrong, Mr. Kowalski there briefing people. This is, I think he's now Deputy Chief George Wade. He's been chief, I'm not sure exactly, but briefing the people, getting them ready. This is the hook and ladder from the Elizabeth Fire Department preparing for the exercise. The Elizabeth Fire Department was involved. There's John Path from the Middlebush Fire Department involved. East Franklin was there. They also practiced crowd control, and they did fairly well with that. Here is, they needed to search for the person. They needed a dummy. I told them I was too busy taking pictures, so they used this guy instead. That was funny. And this, another picture of them getting ready to do some exercises. Councilwoman Francois, the fashion show, I know you intended to talk about that, so I'll leave you time at the end. The fashion show that we went to. Oh, Oh, yeah, that you gave a proclamation for. So I'll let you talk about that at the end. I won't steal your thunder. And Mr. Chase, Councilman Chase, is too modest to tell us that he joins the Conservation Foundation Board. This is a very prestigious board, and he has gotten this prestigious position because of his decades of work on preserving open space and working on other environmental issues. And he's to be highly congratulated for this. This is quite an achievement. I'm almost done. There are 3 family events coming up. The first is Bike Without Fear. We voted on that last time. That was the closing of Canal Road. My wife came up with this cute name, Bike Without Fear, so that people can bike down Canal Road. It's September 8th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Local traffic is permitted. If you live on Canal Road, as I do, you can get to your house 10 miles an hour, please. That would be appreciated. And it's from East Millstone to Butler Road, so I hope everyone enjoys that. It's the first Sunday after Labor Day. Then, as Mr. LaCourte mentioned, he and I are working on the Franklin Police versus the Over 50 Softball League. Last time, the police got more runs, but they also got more injuries. The injuries were 3-0. I don't remember the score. It's September 15th from 12 to 3, Lower Inman Park. $5 suggested donation. There's more information on the food bank website. And Mr. LaCourte wanted me to point out that last year they raised $1,500 for the food bank. They're hoping to top that. And then last but not least, of course, I cannot go without mentioning Canal Fest is Saturday, October 19th in East Millstone. There's food, music, kids' games, arts, crafts, and a rubber duck race. And believe me, if you ever have an affair and you want to have a rubber duck race, my advice is don't. There are more regulations on a rubber duck race and how to run it than there are on how to run a municipality. So I advise not to, but there will be a rubber duck race. All of this to, again, support the food bank and the businesses in East Millstone. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will now go treat my voice.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Carl Wright.
Everything has been said, Mr. Mayor. All I would have to say is, yes, I just came in from football practice. That's why I'm dressed in football attire. Mr. Mayor, go right ahead with the meeting. Oh, one more thing. Number 16, the FYI 2014 Special Improvement District Budget. If it's possible, because I see the executive director and the president sitting in the back, could we pull that out, put it to the front and vote on that right quick?
Sure. Right after council comments, we'll make a motion to amend the agenda.
Go right ahead.
Thanks. A good point. Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. I have just 2 things to report on. It will be blessedly brief. Number 1, I'd like to talk about some programs from the Franklin Township Cultural Arts Literary Arts Committee. They have taken on poetry as one of their central themes, and we have had a number of poets come and speak and do a wonderful job reading their poetry. And there are 2 more coming up. One on September 28th, Maxine Sussman, who had been there earlier and is coming back again. And on October 5th, Elizabeth Palliado will be there. That's from 2 until 4 p.m. The event will be held at the Van Loo Saddam House on Middlebush Road, and the charge would be $10 for adults, $7 for seniors, 65 and over, and $5 for students. So please come out and support our cultural arts group and let them know, show your continued interest in poetry so that they will continue to go out and find more poets to perform at these events. The other thing I just wanted to talk about comes out of the editorial from the Home News. And I just would like to mention how much foresight this particular council, most of this particular council has with regard to the need for infrastructure support. It is a huge problem throughout the United States, but this council has stood its ground and said infrastructure is important. Things such as the water pipe that we just talked about on Route 27. These are not, quote, sexy issues. These are not things we can show to you and say, look at the wonderful things we've done. These are things that are under, obviously, the surface, but they are necessary to keep this community functioning. It is not happening in too many other parts of this country. I will read some of this that also has to do with road resurfacing. As you recall, a recent discussion, again, another one of Councilman Kramer's wonderful slideshows about the need for road repaving and how important it is to do it. But what this particular article says that the statistics are a disgrace. The federal, state, and local funding levels for road and bridge improvement, that they're talking bridge improvement, but we're talking sewage lines, which is water lines, which is also infrastructure, cannot meet the nation's growing need. About $85 billion is required annually to improve the conditions of the roads and the bridges. According to the report, Kansas had the highest percentage, 52% of miles of pavement in poor condition. Connecticut followed closely behind. Then came New Jersey, with 45% of its paved roads in poor condition. Not only does it make it a difficult ride for everyone, but it costs billions of dollars in vehicle repairs and increased risk of actions. And the roads are getting worse. But not in Franklin. We have done what was the responsible thing and voted the funds necessary to continue the process of repaving our roads. So I just wanted to let you know that who we are and what we do for this community. I also, one last thing, I wanted to thank Councilman Kramer. He has done it a number of times and has done these slideshows, and each one has been very informative, but this time I think is the winner. This is a great program, and it's extraordinary. If it has the potential to do what you're saying it does, and I'm sure it does, and we'll learn more, you've done this community a great service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now comes for me, and I have no further comments at this point.
Mayor,
Councilman Vasanella.
could we please, motion to move what's number 16 on the agenda, the three public hearing, the three items under the fiscal year 2014 Special Improvement District budget. I'd like to move that up to the next thing on the agenda.
Okay, so it's item 16, Special Improvement District, to move it now to, as a small reward for the long patience of Director and President, who might still be here. So it's to move that now, and then after that, we'll continue with council discussion items. So is there a second?
Oh, and Mayor, I'm sorry, if I could just, before you call for a second, add ordinance number 4036-13, which is 18C, because that's what would be the hopeful conclusion of the other three items.
Okay, so it's
It's the corresponding ordinance.
Pursuing-
It's actually, I think that's just a technical correction of addresses.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So the motion is to move item 16 to next, and then do 18C, ordinance introduction after that, and then go to the agenda.
Yes, Mayor.
So to amend the agenda. Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Okay, we amended the agenda to do the Special Improvement District items now, and there are three parts to number 16. Our special improvement district is in the Hamilton Street area. That's where the businesses there, not the residents, just the businesses, pay an extra amount, a tax, if you will, that stays right in the area, and the businesses are in charge of allocating it for their best sake to improve business. So it's the three parts. One is a public hearing on the special improvement district. Then this next resolution is to read the special improvement district by title, so I don't have to read the whole part of it, though it is available for anyone to see. And then the third one is to vote if we will adopt the entire special improvement district budget. So, first part, 16A, fiscal year 2014 special improvement district budget. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on the fiscal year 2014 special improvement district budget?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Meeting's open for anyone who wants to speak specifically on the special improvement district budget. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Seeing no one come forward, Mayor, I motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for the special improvement district. Thank you. Next, it's 16B, Resolution 13-350, to read the special improvement district budget by title. Again, that's so I don't have to read all the line items. If you want me to, I certainly will, but this kind of shortens it up. So it's the resolution is to read the fiscal year 2014 special improvement district budget by title. That's presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please pull the council on Resolution 13-350 to read the SID budget by title.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
I'd kind of like you to read the whole thing. Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
If you had, next time pick a mayor with a more melodious voice, not something high and raspy like me. So they'd be more entertaining to hear. So next we have the third of item 16, Resolution 13-351, adoption of the 2014 Special Improvement District budget. That is, has been to the council. It's probably on our computers if you look at it, and it's been available to the public on our website if they wanted to see it. Is there a motion for the fiscal year 2014 Special Improvement District budget?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilman Chase.
Yeah, just before we actually pass it, I wanted to ask Mr. Pappas about the item zoning enhancement program. Is this hiring a consultant to advise you on how we might improve the district by changing the zoning?
Yes.
And thanks. It's Mike Pappas, his title is Director? Executive Director, sorry, of our Hamilton Street Special Improvement District. So, pardon me, go ahead.
Answer is yes.
And you're cutting down on most of the other expenses, I see, in order to do this, and including nothing for community events.
The bottom line of the amount to be raised by taxation is unchanged. There is a smaller amount actually to be proposed to be taken from surplus, so the overall budget should be less. And the board each year tries to propose a budget that reflects the priorities for the year, and we try to reflect that in the report that we provide to the council.
Could you just expand a little about what it is you expect to get as a result of that?
We certainly will be back here to present once this is completed. The conversations that we've had with many of the property owners, some of the feedback that we've gotten from municipal staff based upon applications that have come in for site plan approval, that there are, and the inclination of the existing board, planning board, zoning boards, to grant variances. I think our Board of Trustees is pleased that there is renewed interest in investing in Hamilton Street and the properties to improve some structures, to replace some older deteriorating structures with new structures, and that certain provisions appear to be, how do I put this, that the board has been the planning board has been very inclined to grant certain variances. The reasons given seem to have merit, and so that's one example that there would likely be recommendations to codify that policy that appears to be accepted, and a modification to what's permitted, maybe in the height relief, or the requirement or the restrictions on height limitations. There are other, one specific item that has been found is that there are, in some instances where the properties have been developed commercially, that may have 3 streets siding. In other words, they have frontage on Hamilton Street plus 2 side streets, that there's a provision in one section that limits the access to certain roads, and that there are certain restrictions in developing properties depending upon how much road frontage you have on how many roads. And these are all things that, we certainly plan to present, certainly Mr. Healy, and have discussions first before there's any formal request for change. But we're finding things, and we've heard from property owners, and just looking at it ourselves, there appear to be things that maybe over the years were unintended, or not intentionally created to create impediments for improving properties, and we certainly want to try to have appropriate oversight in review, but not to see variances that may need to be sought that really just add an expense without really having any sense that the municipal officials on the boards would deny those variances.
Thank
Have I
you.
thoroughly confused you?
No, I'm trying to clear up some of the things that are causing unnecessary appeals that are consistent enough that it should be changed.
Yeah, and then one other thing I mentioned, we were here a few months ago, and in our report, is that we are likely going to have at least look at and have some perspective presented about changing some density levels, and perhaps providing for, I think that the technical term is floating zones, where perhaps higher densities could be granted if there's some green area in between newer structures, larger structures, to enhance the aesthetics of visual, if you're driving down a long street such as this. So things like that, I think we want to at least have a discussion about, and having someone with credentials that can present concepts that have been used successfully elsewhere, and to have discussions with Mr. Healy and Mr. Vornlocker and others that we'll certainly sit down with first.
All right, thank you.
Okay, others for Mr. Pappas?
Thank
I
you.
would,
Okay.
Mr. Pappas,
Councilman Wright?
being that I see the president also in the back of the room, I would just like to thank both of you for hanging in there, because it has been a long way. I mean, it will be a long way for us to get everything together. And from what I've seen, Mr. Mayor and our township manager, Mark Healy, has played a very good role in moving things along, because he understands the business that we're trying to do on Hamilton Street. So I want to thank you for taking the helm along with your president and moving things forward.
Thank you. And I do want to reiterate, Mr. Healy's been just very available and very constructive and very helpful. We really appreciate it.
Okay, Councilman Vasanelli.
Just want to echo what Councilman Wright said, and this isn't happening in a vacuum also. We have a building review committee, we have a goals committee. Mr. Pappas is working how I think ideally the board has wanted to see this move, and the merchants and the whole neighborhood, is the town supplying professional resources, being, for example, Mark Healy, and it going back to the board, and this is something that just came up with. This is the result of a couple years of discussion, and the last year very aggressively working with Mark and others. So this is the vision, just like I think the redevelopment agency, or we've had some zoning proposed changes in the 27 corridor and other places in town. This is the culmination of a few years in the making.
Okay, I'm going to echo that also. Mr. Pappas, very impressive for you and the board and all you've done. Very good. It's come a long way. Okay, others? Okay. I've had a move in second on 13-351, adoption of the fiscal year 2014 Special Improvement District budget. Ms. McCarthy, could you please poll the council on that?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, motion is carried. And then the other item was to do 18C.
Yes.
At this point, that's an introduction. And this is 18C on the agenda, which we're doing now, ordinance 4036-13, an ordinance amending the properties contained in the Hamilton Street Business Community Special Improvement District, as created by ordinance number 3540, entitled, An Ordinance of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, and State of New Jersey, creating a special improvement district for the Township of Franklin, Hamilton Street Business Community, that's quote-unquote, adopted on April 26, 2005, amended by ordinance number 3679, adopted on May 22, 2007, and amended by ordinance number 3925-11, adopted on March 22, 2011. This is a technical correction to the street numbers, lot and block numbers, etc., within the Hamilton Street Business Improvement District. It does not change the money, and it doesn't even change the properties, just technically changing some of those items within there. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, September 10th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved. And second. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 18C on the agenda for ordinance 4036-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you very much for that. So now we'll come back to our agenda, which is at item number 13, council discussion items, and the first of which, 13A, 2013 special primary and general elections reimbursements. That's the, as of we're taping, the special election, which was earlier this week, August 13th, 2013, for the primary to fill the seat due to the passing of our United States Senator Frank Lautenberg. So, Ms. McCarthy, do you want to fill us in?
Yes.
Please.
Councilman Regan asked me just to let everybody know how we are getting reimbursed for these two special elections, because adding the two elections actually doubles our election budget, which we didn't intend when we adopted our budget back in May, I think, or April, May. The county actually is going to coordinate all 21 municipalities and collect all of our bills that we incur for both elections and submit them to the state, and then we will get reimbursed. We'll have to lay the money out first, but then we'll get the money back, but probably not until maybe the beginning of 2014. by the time they're done processing everything.
Aren't most of the expenses paid by the county?
No.
Yeah, right.
Not my staff overtime or the rental of the armory is paid for by us.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of things like paying the board workers.
Right, the board workers, and we also pay for the primary ballots, the sample ballots.
Yeah.
And that's
transporting the voting machines.
So.
Yeah, a lot.
It costs us close to $20,000 just for the sample ballots at a primary. So
we have to pay for the sample ballots?
No, since the county's coordinating, because they pay out and then we reimburse them usually at a primary. So now when they pay out, instead of getting the money from us, they'll get the money directly from the state.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on the budget? I mean, the primary election reimbursements? Okay. So next we have 13B, Gypsy Moth Egg Mass Survey. So,
Mr. Mayor, I asked for this to be placed on the agenda for council discussion.
Mr. Vornlocker?
We received a letter from the Department of Agriculture on July 29th. The Department of Agriculture informed us that defoliation caused by the gypsy moth has been detected here in Franklin Township. I'm sure I'm not going to belabor this with the description of what the gypsy moths do to trees. I think you're all aware of it. The Department of Agriculture is willing to come in and conduct a gypsy moth egg mass survey here in Franklin Township to determine the extent of the problem and where the problem lies specifically here in Franklin. However, this is why I asked this to be on the agenda. If it is determined from egg mass surveys that aerial treatment is needed, the department will develop spray contracts, supervise spray operations, and then apply for federal cost-sharing funds. And some of you may recall that there was an issue several years ago with spraying here in Franklin Township that resulted in a large bird kill. So before this was moved forward to the Department of Agriculture, I felt it was appropriate, given the fact that they are asking for your approval, council's approval, before they move forward. And it is time sensitive. We need to give them an answer by tomorrow.
Okay, so do you, should we have a vote of the council once we discuss it to go ahead, or a sense of the council, I guess? Councilman Chase?
I just wanted to say, if they're proposing to spray with Bacillus thuringiensis, that's what organic farmers use on their crops if they have a caterpillar problem. It's about the most biological means of control. The other means of control, which I'll mention because I had a graduate student working on a great many years ago, is there's a specific virus for gypsy moths. The trouble is it turns out the particles are so small that they don't sink when you spray aerially. So the BT is easier to use, but I'd be quite sure we wouldn't have any of the problems that occurred when the starlicide was used against starlings.
So Mayor?
Okay, Councilman Vasanella.
Before we would vote on this, I want some more information the manager may or may not have at this point. If we agree to this, are we then have a say as to if they take a measure? In other words, can they just implement some kind of spraying program or other remedy without our approval?
What I just read is the letter from the Department of Agriculture. We have no other information other than if they do a survey and determine that there is an issue here in Franklin Township, they will develop a plan to spray.
I in favor of controlling the gypsy moth, but having followed the bird incident, which I won't rehash here, that you referenced, and subsequent meetings with representatives from the agricultural, Department of Agriculture, I'm not real comfortable with not knowing what we're signing off on by giving them the go-ahead to do this if we may then lose control. It's not specified in that letter, so
Well,
that's my personal opinion at this point.
Well,
What the letter says is exactly what Councilman Chase just said. It says that they're going to spray Bacillus thuringiensis, Councilman, and I won't go on the pronunciation there, but that is the insecticide that Councilman Chase just spoke of, so obviously he's familiar with it. That is what they say that they will use in any plan where the forests are threatened with heavy defoliation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman Francois.
So I just have a question for our Councilman Chase, because I know you sit on the Environmental Commission. So what you said before was when they came and sprayed before, what they sprayed is what caused the birds to die. But if they come back and spray this BT stuff, it will not kill the birds. Is that what I heard you say?
Right. I mean, it's completely different things. In the case of the birds dying, I think it wasn't even sprayed, it was bait that was put out, but it was something that the starling would fly for 5 minutes and then flop out of the sky, and unfortunately they were flopping out on people's front lawns in Griggstown, so there was a certain to-do about it. But that has really absolutely nothing to do with this proposal here. This is something that only affects caterpillars.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and just, Mayor, for clarification, I wasn't suggesting they were using the same thing or anything. I'm talking about the process by which they did it and the lack of communication and information about what they were doing in our town. I think you remember because I yielded you an interview on Fox News discussing what was a surprise of thousands of dead birds. Oh, yeah, I was at follow-up meetings with you and others. I think Councilman Kramer was one of them. But anyway, so I'm not suggesting this has anything to do with the birds. I meant the process by which we pretty much had absolutely no control.
Okay. So is there further discussion? Oh, Councilman Kramer?
Yeah, so just to be clear, last time, they were trying to kill the birds. It just didn't happen quite the way they wanted to. Here, they're trying to kill caterpillars, and maybe caterpillars will come raining down on people's yards. But my concern is actually, you said, the letter says they will develop a cost sharing with whom?
No, what the letter says is that they will apply for federal cost-sharing funds.
So
they will do this, but then they will in turn apply for federal cost sharing.
So this is not going to cost us
This is not going to cost us anything.
The inspection or the spray?
The inspection or the spray, correct.
Yeah, I remember growing up in Connecticut, a gypsy moth invasion, and it was fairly devastating, and it had effects for years. Thank you.
Okay. So, Councilman Chase?
I noticed they say they would focus on recreational and residential areas. I wonder if we can get them to stretch that to township open space.
I think they will do that. It says if time permits, the more uninhabited areas also will be inspected.
Yeah.
So I think as we develop the plan, if we look to move forward, that would be one thing that we would certainly ask them to do.
Okay. Is there further discussion or a motion to go ahead with this procedure?
So the question I think Councilman Vasanella was asking, once they come in and do their survey, are they going to come back to us and document what their findings are and where they're going to actually administer the survey? I mean, the actual spray. And we assume that would be yes.
Before they took the...
I would assume that's yes. Understand, this is my dilemma. This letter is all I can base my information on, and the deadline's tomorrow. So if that, and I wish I could give you more, but that's all that they provided. And so it says the department has developed an integrated pest management system which utilizes aerial sprays, and we've talked about the biological insecticide. If it is determined from egg mass surveys that aerial treatment is needed, the department will develop spray contracts, supervise spray operations, and apply for federal cost-sharing funds. If your council wishes to have the department conduct gypsy moth egg mass surveys in your municipality, please contact our office. There is no charge for these inspections. However, you are required to supply 3 copies of your municipal map, which I think I can probably swing that one out of my desk.
Actually, it sounds as if there's no cost for the inspections, but they don't say anything about the aerial spraying. But presumably, I mean, it sounds as if we would have the option to decide after getting the IGMAS surveys whether to go ahead with spraying. And at that time, we can certainly find out whether they would be charging us then.
Although my reading was, if we go with the survey and they want to spray, they'll just do it. We don't get another crack at it. I mean, that's just...
That was my concern, Mayor. I understand Mr. Vornlocker, Mayor, for one more moment, that I understand he's got this letter, and I'm happy he's not speculating as to what their interpretation of it is. I'm just not hearing that we have a choice, and I'm wondering if it's practical or legal that if I or someone puts a motion that we would like them to do that with the understanding that we have the choice of whether or not they take action from the results of the survey. That's something that I would favor, but...
I didn't read that in that letter. If they
No, I'm saying if we
determine
allowed
that
to make...
treatment is needed, they will develop the spray contacts and supervise those spray operations and apply. So it sounds like if they come up with a finding, they're going to act on that finding.
And it could
If we
cost,
go
it
ahead
could end
with
up,
this.
we could end up getting a bill from whoever they contract to do it.
It doesn't say that the city will apply for federal cost-sharing funds. So we really don't know if we're going to...
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying, that we don't know.
We don't know.
I'm trying to be optimistic, but
So
when it
either
comes
we
to
say
federal
there's
government...
too many unknowns here and we don't want to go forward with it, or we're going to take a chance and let them do what they need to do. It's either or. It's a risk to a certain extent.
May I suggest that we essentially respond yes to the 8 mass surveys, but we need this further information. We need further information before moving ahead with an actual spray program, i.e., do we have a choice in the matter, and do we have to pay for the spray program?
That's a good
That's kind of what I was
recommendation.
suggesting, so, I mean, we
Well,
can put that motion on the table, Councilman Chase, if you want to word that, or just other input first.
Councilman Kramer, let's...
Yeah. So I think the letter is very clear that if they do this and they find the moths, they will spray. What is not clear is whether we will pay for it. And what I suggest is that we vote, we structure the vote in such a way that we instruct the manager what we want. He can find out further information tomorrow. And then if, let's say, we say, yeah, go ahead and do it, but we don't want to pay for it, and he finds out we are going to have to share in the costs, then he can say, okay, we don't want it. But it seems very clear from that letter that if they do the survey, and we have sufficient gypsy moth, they will spray.
Yeah, that seems correct. I think if we go with the vote, in our mind, we have to say, it's going ahead. It'd be nice to have a contingency that that's not necessarily the case. The other part, I think, is when you said about Connecticut, me personally, I'm apprehensive not to go through, then we have a devastation, and the residents may say to us, you had the opportunity to do something, and you
Yes, it's a
turned it
long
down."
recovery if it happens.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a motion, there's two possible motions, to go ahead with it, or a motion to go ahead with it, but the manager should find out if there's cost, and to respond to them no if there is cost. So either
I'll
we
second
go
that
ahead no
motion.
matter what, or we go ahead, to me, those are the choices. Well, there's three choices. Do nothing, go ahead no matter what, or go ahead as long as it doesn't cost us money. And the
I do
manager
have
can
a-
find out the rest by
Okay,
tomorrow.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
If, there's also the option that the manager will try to find out if there are costs and doesn't find out if there are costs, and we miss the deadline. So we have to make a decision as to what to do should that happen. it's very nice to have that information, then he has to communicate it to us, then we have to decide, yes, we want to do it, no, we don't want to do it, we're going to miss the deadline.
Yeah.
So be very clear that that is a risk if we vote that way. My vote is to go ahead with it, and I think the impact is very large and costly.
So the first question in my mind, sorry, Mr. Mayor, first question in my mind is, forget cost, do we want our town sprayed if necessary? And if the vote here is no, then the cost
Yeah.
isn't.
That's
So
fine.
perhaps we could have that vote.
Okay.
I motion that we spray contingent on other issues, and we can vote on those issues later. So it's spray or not spray, ignoring money right now.
Okay, since that's kind of a sense of the council, I'll just say, all in favor of, all else being equal, spraying, I guess say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to spraying totally? Okay, so that's a good point, because if it was no, everything else is actually.
So then, now I think the vote is, do we spray even if we have to pay something, or do we spray only if it's free?
And I guess the point is, I'm picking up on Deputy Mayor Sherman, we're not meeting for a month. I don't think we've got a second bite at the apple for a vote here. So, Mr. Raynone?
Just for the record, Mayor, the Department of Agriculture website says that in addition to delineating treatment areas, the department also applies to the USDA Forest Service car-sharing funds, which, if approved, result in a 50% reimbursement of the treatment costs for the participating municipalities. That sounds much more like they're expecting that you're going to pay 50% of the cost.
And we don't know what that cost
And you
is.
don't
So we
know
have
what
to
the
pay
cost is.
50%, possibly 100% of a figure we have no idea what it is.
Correct.
Right. Well, going back, and I'm not sure if this is what Councilman Kramer was suggesting as one of the options, I'd make a motion that we direct the manager to respond positively with the understanding that we're consulted with prior. Then if that's clear in the letter, then
I
let's
certainly
put
don't
that
mind
out there.
trying, but it's pretty clear in the letter. It says, if it is determined from egg mass surveys that aerial treatment is needed, the department will develop spray contracts. It doesn't say that there's any option if, in fact, they determine that there's a egg mass in the survey. So I don't think that that's one of the options. That part of it seems very clear to me.
That we would have no say as...
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
that we would have no say. And now
I
the
thought I heard
new
you
information
say
from
it
Mr.
wasn't.
Raynone certainly makes that much clearer to me as well.
That makes sense why they're asking us, because we will incur a cost. That's why they can't just do this without us recognizing we're going to have to pay something for it.
And
It makes sense now.
in my mind, if we pull the state out of the picture, and Mr. Bornlock or someone came to us and said, you know what, we've determined we've got this egg mass thing, that whatever you call it, in Franklin, I'm guessing many of us would say, uh-oh, we better spray and find the money for it because we don't want the devastation, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, yeah, Councilman Kramer?
According to Oklahoma's own in 2008, boy, government has changed with the web, an expert said it's about $17 an acre for aerial spraying to combat the woodland insect pest population. I'm not sure which woodland insect that is. But so we're talking, it's gypsy moth. So we're talking $17 an acre. How many acres in town?
A lot. You got to figure there's 2,700 in 6 Mile Run alone.
So if they just did that, that could be 50,000 or more.
But we're not going to spray fields, we're only going to
Agreed, you're gonna
spray
spray
woods.
forests, so I don't know what the forested, but it also includes residential trees. So if you're spraying residential areas, well, it's not fields, it's just residential neighborhoods with trees.
The other part about this is that I don't, Mr. Mayor, if I can, I don't quite understand the timing, because once again, I'm trying to read the Agriculture Department's website as quickly as I can. They say that the best time to spray is in May. It sounds to me like they're sending out these letters, and then they're going to send out another letter to us in December to ask us again if we want to do it. They're going to develop contracts, but they're not going to spray now. they're just going to search for eggs now, and then they're going to spray in May. So maybe the appropriate thing to do is to, I mean, I realize they have a check-the-box form, is to, tell the manager that, depending on council's ultimate decision as to whether or not they want to incur the cost, that they authorize, the survey to be done, but not if it comes with a blank check. Essentially, I think that's essentially what council's saying.
I agree, that's what council's saying. And again, Mr. Reno, and I can only go based on what the Department of Agriculture letter says here. It says, A, you have a problem. It's been determined that you have it in your town.
Right.
I regret to inform you, I believe is what it says. All right, so you have a problem. We will come and determine the extent of your problem. And if the problem is to such an extent that it needs it, we will come up with a spray plan for you to do aerial spraying, and we'll apply for a 50% reimbursement from the federal government for you. That's really what this letter says, and it says, and you better let us know by the 16th of August, or we're not going to do it for you. That's the only thing I can get out of this, and I realize that puts us in a position that really it's difficult to make that decision as to where we go, but that's all I have, and I certainly will call them and ask them more questions tomorrow, but...
Just a quick answer, a quick off the top of my head calculation says about 33,000 acres in town. I'm sure we're not going to spray every square acre.
Yeah, and now I found an article that says $36 an acre. But I think my thought is, we go ahead, tell them yes, we find out more information, and if we find out this is going to be something devastating, I'm sure in 2 months or in 2 weeks, when our next council meeting, 3 weeks is, we say no, they will probably accept a no at that time. It's just that they're going to accept, I can't guarantee that, but they're going to accept, if we don't say yes by tomorrow, we're out of it. But if we tell them we change our mind, it's probably easier to turn it off than to turn it on. So I say we say yes.
I have one other thought, and of course, I don't know enough to know it. My sense is that gypsy moths don't know border lines. So if indeed we say no, and our neighboring communities find that as a result of us, gypsy moths have proliferated throughout this area, I think it will, and they have sprayed, and then we go ahead and do this. I don't know that the state would allow us to do that, to infect our neighbors. We have 13 communities on our border. So just a guess, I think it would be very harmful to all of our neighbors if we don't do it. Now, if they don't do it, that's another story. That affects us. Everybody really has to do it.
Okay, so if we go ahead, I'm sure Mr. Vornlock will let them know. Please keep us posted, and if I can find out other things in the administration, I'll tell them to keep us posted too.
Good.
Or to keep you posted. Okay, so is there...
So we're going to vote?
If no discussion, yeah.
Did already.
If there motion, it's basically to go ahead or not, I guess. Let's go up with some conditions.
No, I move that we apply for the egg mass survey with the understanding that the manager will inquire further as to the conditions as to whether we have a go, no-go point further in the future.
Yes.
I second that.
Okay, so that was the motion and seconded. All in favor of that, which is basically going ahead with the caveats, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, it's carried. Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Vornlocker.
Understood. I will get back to you next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we're now at item number 14 on the agenda.
Yay.
Approval of minutes, of which we have two. These are presented to the Township Council for approval. Township Council work session regular meeting of July 16th, 2013, held at 7 p.m. And from the Township Council, the executive session of the same day, July 16th, 2013. Is there a motion that the said minutes be approved as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the minutes, regular and work session, regular meeting, and executive session of July 16, 2013, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay. Motion is carried. Next, we have warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $11,403,490.30 on August 15, 2013 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. Next come to item 16, which we did earlier. That's the Hamilton Street Business Improvement District items. So we come up to 17 ordinance hearings. Usually an ordinance is voted on twice before it goes into law. It's voted on once, and usually then after that, the meeting or second meeting after that, it's voted on a second time. At that second meeting, there's a public hearing at which people can speak on that particular ordinance. If it passes a second time, then it goes into law. So we have one second hearing, and then after that, we'll have some first ordinance introduced on first reading. So it's 17A, ordinance 4032-13. It's a public hearing and adoption of ordinance on second reading. This is an ordinance of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the granting of a utility easement to Marina Energy, LLC, for a proposed 20-foot wide electric underground conduit on Commerce Drive in connection with docket number PLN 12-00009. This utility easement basically on the L'Oreal property. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of public hearing. A public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
And
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public hearing on this particular ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one come forward. Mr. Mayor, seeing no one come forward, I make a motion that we close public session on this issue.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed on this ordinance. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. If no discussion, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 17A, ordinance 4032-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Never seen anything like this before.
Okay, motion is carried. Now we go to ordinance introductions. There are three, one of which we have already done, so we'll do the remaining two now. 18A and B. First 18A on the agenda, which is ordinance 4033-13. This a bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 3852, final adoption on October 27, 2009, entitled, quote, "Bond ordinance providing for the construction of an interconnection with the city of New Brunswick for the water utility of the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $750,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $750,000 bonds or notes of the water utility of the township to finance the cost thereof," unquote. To amend the description thereof, and to increase the appropriation and the authorization of bonds and notes therein by $430,000. In essence, there's two parts here. Well, in general, it's an interconnection for water with the city of New Brunswick. It means we're buying more of our water from the city of New Brunswick, which will be a lower cost than we are paying now. And also, the state of New Jersey says we have to add to capacity to our system, which this does. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, September 10th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Moved and seconded.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Kramer, please.
Just a quick question for our township manager. Hi, sorry. So, for the purposes of the general public, every time we pass a bond ordinance, we don't go out and bond, we gather them up. Do you know when the next time we're bonding, or do we?
I believe the plan right now by our finance department is to bond in the beginning of 2014.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 18A, ordinance 4033-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman? Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay. Motion is carried. Next is the second ordinance hearing, ordinance introduction. One was done earlier, so this is the final one for this evening. It's item 18B on the agenda, ordinance number 4034-13, an ordinance of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the granting of a sewer easement to St. Thomas Syro-Malabar Catholic Church, Incorporated, for proposed sanitary sewer force main underground conduit on Heller Park Lane in connection with docket number ZBA-10-00028. This is basically for a sanitary sewer line to go across the road under Heller Park Lane. That's in the vicinity of the high school. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, September 10th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 18B, ordinance 4034-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have item number 19, our consent agenda. The consent agenda are items of a basically routine nature, all of which can be voted on in one vote. It is any councilperson's prerogative to take any item off for a separate discussion or a vote. So the consent agenda is items 19A through items 19A-N. These items on the consent agenda are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a discussion or a motion for the consent agenda?
Discussion.
Yes, Councilman Kramer?
Thank you.
I'd like M to be handled separately.
Okay, so
M as in Mike.
item 19M, Resolution 13-364. Okay. Any other items, discussion or removal? Or motion for the remainder of the consent agenda?
A motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. That's for the consent agenda A through AN, with the exception of item M. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the consent agenda resolutions as adjusted, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. That's the consent agenda. Now we have item 18M, as in mother, Resolution 13-364, award non-fair and open professional service agreement for the Township prosecutor for calendar year 2013. Councilman Kramer?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to table this item.
Okay. Till the next meeting
Next council
Next council meeting.
Or whatever. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so the motion is to table item 19M on the agenda, Resolution 13-364, awarding a contract for our, one of our township prosecutors for calendar year 2013, currently amount not to exceed $28,000. Is there a second for table?
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to table? Okay. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the motion to table this item.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. That concludes all items within the consent agenda. Resolutions voted on separately. Number 20, we do not have any. That leaves us with number 21, old business, 2013 board and commission vacancies. Are there any nominations?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Kramer, please.
Well, there is one seat open on trails. That's correct. There's only one open?
Yes.
Yeah, and there are two people who have applied for it. Ms. Sharon Dana Oley, O-L-E-Y, and Mr. James, I'll pronounce this wrong, Kuligowski. That's probably not bad. Both of them attend the meetings. Both of them are very active in it. Ms. Oley actually has submitted pictures to the Trails picture contest and has won awards from it. She's gone to Canal Fest and volunteered to be a presenter, to show what the trails are in town and to help people with questions about the trails, even though she is not an official member. I do, though, think, in fairness, I have to inform council, she is not a citizen of Franklin. She's in that portion of Franklin Park where she's just on the Kingston, where she's just on the other side of the road. So she's technically not.
And she grew up in Griggstown.
Right. So she's, by accident of a line, not a citizen of Franklin, though is devoted. And both of them kind of know each other and want to apply, and there will be no hard feelings between them as to who we pick. I could nominate them both.
Well, I'll nominate Ms. Oley.
Okay.
Okay, nomination for Ms. Oley.
I'll nominate James Kuligowski. I'm hearing that they both participate, well-received, everybody gets along.
Yeah.
Okay.
And perhaps in anticipation of the vote, whomever is not the Trails person, I guess we can reach out and find another.
Right, well,
for him or her.
and actually James said something about how he still plans to participate even if he doesn't get it. So this is,
Get him for the
it's
next
nice to have people waiting in line,
Yeah.
and qualified people.
That's great. Hopefully-
Perhaps you could mention to the one that you don't appoint that I have a position open on the Shade Tree Commission? Just a thought.
Oh, no, that's very good.
The only reason, Mayor, to just highlight, I'm
Yes.
nominating James is I know some committees, it's written into the ordinances, some of the commissions, boards, committees, if you have to be a Franklin resident or not. Some of them do not have that. I think some of them from past discussions didn't put that requirement because, it's not a requirement because I guess they wanted to keep it to where they could have more people submitting. I don't know if there was a time they couldn't fill it, but the only reason I'm nominating James, I just feel that given everything else, all things equal, which it sounds like it is, that we should give preference if there is only one position to an actual resident versus non-resident. That's the only issue I have with it. And perhaps Sharon could fulfill another requirement like the shade tree.
So just point of information, I did check the ordinance, and it is not a requirement.
No, and the manager just filled in. For this one, it isn't, but we have the option of choosing a Franklin resident or not.
Okay. Any other discussion? And I'm sorry, I just closed my computer. Could you give me their names once more?
Ms. Oley, O-L-E-Y, and Mr. Kuligowski. You're just doing that so I can pronounce them wrong, I'm sure.
Okay.
Shade tree is more concerned.
All right, so if none others, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council for a member of the Trails Committee. Thank you. Ms. Oley, Mr. Kuligowski, and I'm sure we all say, if I can speak for all of us, which I shouldn't always, we'd be glad to have either one of them, and the other one hopefully will serve us another way.
Right. So, Councilman Chase?
Oley.
Councilman Kramer?
Oley.
Councilwoman Francois?
Holy, is that the name?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
You know, I
Wait a minute, which one was the resident?
James?
Kuligowski.
Kuligowski. I'll vote for the resident.
Mayor Levine?
I was going to say, I never ever do this, but just because it's two good people, I'm going to abstain on this. And I don't know either one well enough.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Oley.
Councilman Vasanella?
Resident Kuligowski. I hope I pronounced it right, James.
And Councilman Wright?
Okay, so Ms. Oley has it. Thank you very much, congratulations, and I guess Mr. Vornlocker, you or someone you'll designate might reach out to Mr. Kuligowski for any other items.
Yes.
And Mr. Vornlocker is the one who appoints the Shade Tree Commission.
I am the one who appoints the Shade Tree Commission. That's why I asked for that possibility, if anyone happens to know him.
Okay, so are there any other nomination for boards or commissions?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman?
I have a nomination for the Kingston Village Advisory Commission, and this is an opening that has been open for more than 2 years, but I want to nominate Dr. Ernst de Haas.
Oh.
And at least you have been around long enough to remember him. He was on the Board of Education in the 1970s, and he ran for, it may have been even earlier than that, and he actually ran for council as an independent. He's an extremely public-spirited citizen. He's moved from Coppermine Road into downtown Kingston, and he actually called me up because he wanted to contact the manager about health programs to combat obesity in our fire companies. And I took the opportunity to ask him if he would serve on the Kingston Village Advisory Committee. And he came to the meeting last night, which was more than a usual meeting, but I'm very happy to nominate him.
Okay, any other nominations? And I will say excellent thought, and very good of you to draft him when you had them on phone, Councilman Chase. Okay, if no one else, all in favor of Dr. de Haas by acclamation for Kingston Village Advisory Committee, please say aye.
Aye. Totally.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Any other nominations? Okay, since there's...
Councilman Kramer, don't you have a nomination for the Advisory Health Commission?
Hold on one second.
I do. Anne Marie, can you give me the name? I mean, sorry, Master Clerk.
I don't feel like a master clerk today. I'm really tired. Brandon Rogers.
Chase, do you have? Right, yes.
Brandon Rogers.
Yes, I nominate Brandon Rogers to fill the vacant seat on the Advisory Board of Health. Thank you, Councilman Chase. I knew there was something.
Okay.
I think we had his application last time, but we didn't have a vacancy then, and we do now.
Yeah, I think
And
Mr.
I remember commenting that he was just too late. If he'd applied in May, we could have put him on as a student member.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been in town a long time, and Ms. Francois, I think when we're at the SCAP meeting, we see his handiwork on the side of the wall there. I think that's his. Okay? Councilwoman Francois. Okay. So, Mr. Brandon
correct.
Rogers, Advisory Board of Health. Anyone else for that position? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Rogers, by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Is, any other nominations? If not, no other business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, Bob's going
Second.
James, so
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
he has interest in the ship.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Because
No, I